8:08, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to the final hour for your Wednesday. I want to welcome on into the program Channel 4 investigative reporter Jeremy Finley. Jeremy, I want to just say right off the bat, I love your work and your investigative reporting is top notch. And I've been watching with a lot of interest this story that you've been covering where, over a dozen now, you're up to 15 Tennesseans have been arrested for drunk driving. Ultimately, though, the blood work later proved that they were innocent. And so, a family friend of mine has been featured on your reporting. And so I know firsthand how badly this will just destroy someone's life, especially if they know that they're innocent. So let's talk a little bit about this. First of all, how long have you been investigating this?
Hey, Dan, it's great to be here with you this morning. I appreciate you having me on. So we actually started uncovering this in 2023 is when we did our very first story, where we found our very first driver who was sober and was arrested for DUI. And we kind of thought at that time that it was just an outlier case and we didn't think much of it. But over the years, I started hearing from more drivers. So we continued reporting, and at this point, we have found that in a 7-year period between 2017 and 2023, that there actually have been more than 600 sober drivers in Tennessee arrested for DUI. And our most recent reporting has focused, that 15 number that you were mentioning, has focused on drivers that have been arrested specifically by state troopers. So we know that ultimately, we've got hundreds of cases in Tennessee, and that number is only up until 2023. We don't have the numbers for 2024. We don't have the numbers for 2025 because the TBI is the only one that has that information, and they haven't released it yet. And so ultimately, it's showing a pervasive problem, and it's not just one police agency. We have found this happening all across the state. From local police departments, again, to the state police. And when we started reporting on this, and it's kind of still the same situation today, it's only us finding this data. We had to go out and search for it and find the court records and verify it with their blood work. It's a vital part of investigative journalism that we have the documentation to prove what people are telling us. And in this case, we were able to find it. And it's just a situation where not only is it bad enough to get a DUI when you're sober, but what we found is that the crime lab at the TBI is so backed up that it sometimes can take months, and we're talking in some egregious cases 8 months to get the blood work back. So for 8 months, you are living under this veil of trouble where you have gotten a DUI. In some cases, we have found people that have lost their jobs,
Yep.
They have lost their insurance, and in some of the worst cases, lost custody of their children because their children were in the car with them when they got the DUI and the entire time they were sober. So that's kind of a wider scope of how big of the problem is that we found.
So 600 with various agencies, and yeah, the latest is these 15 from state troopers. I got to ask, so what's in it for the state? Like if you think, okay, we'll follow the money, right? Follow the money.
Right.
So when you follow the money, where does that lead? I mean, is this, I guess my question is this a sign of corruption or is this a sign that they don't know how to do the tests?
So it's interesting. I actually think it's something else. And this is something that we're continuing to report on. So obviously all these years, Dan, think about all the times we have applauded police agencies for making DUI arrests. I mean, nobody wants a drunk driver. Everyone was like, this is great. They're making thousands of DUI arrests. This is fantastic. But no one ever went back to find out if the people who were arrested were innocent. And I think really that's what we're finding is that police agencies have been tasked with, going out and find as many drunk drivers as you can. And remember, when they pull somebody over, it's for a suspicion of being drunk under the influence. So the issue here is that they're making all these arrests. They're using their training to determine if someone is drunk. but they're getting it wrong in hundreds of cases. So the question is why? What's happening that is making this ending up arresting innocent people for this? Well, there are various reasons for that than what we found. Some people have disabilities. Some people have challenges that are as simple as that they had a surgery and they weren't able to do the field sobriety test correctly. There are some cases where we have found where the police officer just botched the case. I mean, they just botched the investigation. They did the training. They didn't follow their training. So it's a multitude of reasons why this is happening. I wish it was simple. I wish it was simple that we could say, hey, this is this is the reason that it's happening, but it's all these different reasons that it's happening. And so ultimately what happened is once we started reporting on this and then confirmed through the TBI that there were hundreds and hundreds of cases, a state law was passed where they're now going to trace all of the cases that have happened so far this year where sober drivers were arrested by DUIs from every police agency across the state. They're going to compile all that data, and then it is going to become public record. So we'll be able to see which police agencies are making the most of these arrests, where they're happening. So at the very least, it's gathering data that we can now say, okay, this is where it's happening the most. But up until now, all I can do and all these drivers and a lot of times their attorneys can do is reach out to me and tell me their stories. So we're telling their stories and we're analyzing the cases and we're using experts to analyze the body camera footage to find out what went wrong. I also think that what we're seeing is the number of DUI arrests continue to rise over the years. And one of the hardest parts of this and why people are so astonished that this keeps happening is that a lot of police agencies are not using breathalyzers anymore. And the reason they're not using breathalyzers is because they want to use a blood test to find out if that person is on drugs. So they may not be able to determine right off the bat if a person is intoxicated on some kind of medication or illegal drug. So they stop using breathalyzers. So when people get pulled over and they're sober, they say, hey, I'll do a breathalyzer. I can prove you right now that haven't been drinking. And the police agencies are saying, well, that's actually not what we do anymore. Now we do blood tests. Okay, well, that's, you can understand why they have to do that. But the problem is that it takes so long to get these blood tests back. Here's what you need to know. If you get pulled over and you're sober for a DUI, you're going to have not a breathalyzer if you're in one of these across the state where they're not using breathalyzers. So they're going to test you first for alcohol. That can take a couple months. Then if the alcohol test comes back negative, they then test you for your blood work for toxicology to see if you're on drugs. That takes an additional several months to get that report back. So you're looking at a months-long process where you've got to go to your bosses and say, hey, I got arrested for a DUI, my mugshot's out there, but you got to believe me, I'm sober. And in a lot of cases, they're finding that, I just profiled a gentleman that he had to just quit his job because he knew it was going to cost him his job, even though he was sober. So it's a really layered case, which is why we've done so many stories on this over the past year.
It's horrifying. Now, can I ask real quick, the field sobriety tests? So what kind of field sobriety tests are they giving to people that they suspect of being drunk?
So it's supposed to be standard across the board. I have watched so many body camera footage, so much body camera footage at this point, that I can see that it is done in many, many different ways. So there is not like one way that every person, like if you got a field sobriety test today, Dan, and then I got a field sobriety test tomorrow, there are multiple different ways it can be done. It all depends on what the officer has been trained with and the officer believes to be the best way to do a field sobriety test. But there are a few key factors. One of them is the nystagmus test. This is the one where you've seen where people have to follow the officer's fingers when he goes in front of their eyes to see if the eyes are following in a fluid motion. That is a test where officers believe if you don't perform that correctly, then you are intoxicated on something. But here's the one that gets people so many times. So imagine walking heel to toe on a straight line in the dark, back and forth. Now, to a lot of us that are in relatively good shape, that's not a big deal. But there's a whole lot of folks out there who have trouble with their balance for whatever reason. And then you have to add on to this people that have ADHD and have trouble following directions. That's a difficulty for them. And then you have the one-legged stand, where you have to stand with both hands down and you hold up one leg and you stand on your leg. Again, those of us with pretty decent balance could probably do it, but there's a lot of people that would struggle with that, whether it's from surgeries or their weight, or maybe they just don't have good balance. So there are all these reasons, and I get this comment all the time from people when they comment on my stories. They'll say, I couldn't pass one of these field sobriety tests if I tried to, even when I was sober. So it is, you got to feel for the officers, because they are the ones out there having to use their opinion, their training to try and determine if someone is drunk. But at the same time, we are finding ultimately that innocent people are being found to have believed to be under the suspicion of a DUI. And so it's a mess. I have been reporting as a journalist in television for 30 years. I have never had response to a story like I have with this, because it affects every single one of us. And yesterday I was actually even emailing with a guy in the United Kingdom, and he said, I just can't believe this. I follow the stories in the United States, and I can't believe that this is happening. So it's getting a lot of people worried for obvious reasons, and you can understand why.
Oh yeah, so you've been trying to get an interview with the guy in charge of the Tennessee Highway Patrol, guy by the name of Colonel Matt Perry, and he refuses to talk to you.
So when we first started reporting on this, and we were finding it was various police agencies, we started finding that there was a couple cases that were of state troopers. And so we thought that was really interesting. When you think of state troopers' primary mission, it is to patrol the interstates and handle crashes and things like that. And so I kind of thought it was a no-brainer. I was like, well, I'll just reach out to the THB, talk to them about their training. But nothing. They will not talk to me, will not talk about it. So then as we were researching and putting together our latest story that again showed that we have found 15 people wrongfully arrested by DUI, for DUI by state troopers, I then put in the request for the colonel to speak again. And you have to understand, like, as investigative reporters, all we want to do is sit down with somebody and ask questions and go over our data so we can have it 100% correct. You often see those videos, and sometimes they show up in promotions of a reporter like chasing down a public official with a microphone. People need to understand that's the last thing we want to do. We want to sit down, have a civilized conversation, and really get the information out and ask the questions that we need to ask. So that's what I wanted to do with Colonel. So ultimately, they said no one would be available to answer our questions. So the Tennessee Highway Patrol had a press conference about 2 weeks ago. And so we went because the colonel was going to speak. So we went there, we're ready to ask our questions. The colonel spoke for about 2 minutes, immediately left the podium, took no questions, got into a car, and drove away.
Yeah, I saw that video. It was like, oh my gosh, this is a man who clearly doesn't want to answer questions. Yeah,
and I understand that. I guess I should say this. I understand why people are nervous when investigative reporters like myself come around. But listen, I mean, this is the same thing that I have said in emails and have said to his spokespeople, is that, you're the head of the state's police agency. And we have found 15 cases where innocent people were arrested for crimes that they didn't commit. I kind of feel like as a taxpayer-funded position, you need to be explaining what's going on. And that's kind of where we are now. And I'll tell you also, Dan, one of the most egregious cases that we found is that 7 of those 15 were all arrested by the same trooper. So one trooper arrested almost half of those people. And to our knowledge, that trooper is out there right now continuing to make DUI arrests.
Can I ask where that guy was? Which county was he in?
Sure, he's in Williamson County.
Williamson County.
And Williamson County. And again, like I said, 7 individual cases of innocent people arrested for crimes they didn't commit.
That sounds so suspicious to me. I'm almost out of time. So,
Okay.
If you were put in charge, how do we stop this? Because there's a lot of state lawmakers who listen to this radio station and this show.
Yeah.
So, what's the solution here?
So I think that what they have to look at is, because this is pervasive, it's happening all across the state. We've got to look at the training and the mission. So we got to look at, okay, so we know that this isn't working. When you have more than 600 people in the state that just we know of, I mean, there are so many others that we don't know about. We know that there's obviously an issue. In my opinion, as a journalist, I would want the data and the explanation. I would want to be like, all right, why is this happening? I would want to call the representatives for these police agencies together, and whether it be in a committee hearing or something, to say, listen, explain to us, why can this happen? Why is this happening? Is it a training issue? Are you too under the gun to make DUI arrests? Do you feel like that you've got to reach a certain quota and that's why you're arresting some of these people? Is the procedure flawed? Should we go back to using breathalyzers? So at the beginning, we'll know, well, hey, this person isn't on alcohol, and then we can take the drug test. So should we re-examine how the whole process is done? And it's happening all across the country. It's not just in Tennessee. Yeah. It's happening all across the country. We found cases all across the country. So I just think that it's time for lawmakers to take a hard look at what is going wrong that has gone so wrong in so many of these cases.
Jeremy, my text line is blowing up. What is your email address for people that think that they have been wrongly arrested?
Well, that's great. So it's real easy. It's just my first name, Jeremy.Finley@WSMV.com. And you can go to the website and find it easily. And you can find all my contact information on there.
Finley, Jeremy Finley.
You got it.
And appreciate you letting us know what's going on with this. And Jeremy, if you'd be kind enough to come back and give us updates when they happen, I'd really appreciate it. What an incredible story. And none of this makes any sense to me. I mean, and as he said, it's not only in Tennessee, it is across the country. So we'll continue to follow this story. It is 8:26, running late, but totally worth it.
Interesting to watch.
Tell me what I'm doing.
Yeah, now they're
Smarty pants.
Was it something really simple?
You know what? I guarantee you he's not going to be able to figure this out.
Oh, he's still working on it. Okay.
Watch.
I don't know what you did to this computer. Well, I mean, for starters, you're using Microsoft Edge as your browser.
I'm working on the transition. Wow. I sound good on this microphone.
Do you, Dan?
I do. Well,
You look cool with my headphones on, too.
I know. Hey, just to let you know.
Now that's commingled earwax. No good.
You know what?
Yeah.
This little known thing about me is I'm very passionate about earwax.
They did.
There it is.
There it is. There it is.
I keep my ears clean of wax. Thank you.
I don't know if the video's on the stream or not. I don't know how you're doing your videos.
It's on that side.
It's on the stream.
It's on the stream.
Good. Here's Joy Reid being racist, which is a shocker.
Yes. It's like redundant.
I'm shocked.
Mm-hmm.
They can't fix the history they did. Their ancestors made this country into a slave hell. But they can clean it up now because they got the Smithsonian. They can get rid of all the slavery stuff. They got PragerU. They can lie about the history to the children. They can't originally invent anything more than they ever were able to invent good music. We black folk gave y'all country music, hip hop, R&B, jazz, rock and roll. They couldn't even invent that, but they have to call a white man the king.
Wow.
Whoa.
So I was thinking to myself about all the things white people invented.
Well, just Ben Franklin. Go through the list of Ben Franklin. Bifocals and...
Bifocals.
Glasses.
Cars.
Oh, I don't...
Spaceships.
Yeah. Elon Musk. Yeah. Elon Musk is...
He's landing...
I'm going back to Ben Franklin, but you're right. Elon Musk.
Yeah, he's an African-American, too.
Yeah.
Einstein. You got Einstein.
Henry Ford.
Mozart, Beethoven.
Was Einstein the theory of relativity?
I think so.
Yeah, that was stolen from a black man, obviously, according to Joy
Clearly,
Reid.
yeah. Hold on. I'm stuck on the whole, they created country music? Is that right?
Yes.
There is a debate that goes on about who started country music.
Okay.
And now I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version because I read it one time. But the guy who is said to have originally started, I'm air quoting, country music, a white guy, but he traveled around the country with a black man who traveled with him, and the black man would help him come up with songs. And they were like gospel songs, and then they turned that genre into country music. But I don't think it's fair to say that white men, air quoting, stole country music from black folks. It's all collaborative.
Well, and the whole slavery argument is just so tired.
It is so tired.
At the peak of its slavery, 2% of white Americans owned slaves. 2%. Mm-hmm. 2%.
Yep.
And why are we still doing this?
And who was selling black people to the white people in America?
Yes, you're
black
absolutely
people
right.
in other shores were selling their black people to white Americans.
And if it's such a detriment to a race that they went through slavery, how is it that Asian Americans who faced a lot of the same discrimination that black Americans faced are now the richest per capita in the country?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. She and I went on this whole little mini thing yesterday where I knew this audio was out there, but I hadn't actually heard it. But honest to goodness, she is the epitome of a village idiot at this point. And she's irrelevant. And this is the kind of stuff, that's why she lost all of her credibility. Because it's all this woman can bring to the table.
So I do think that the media and leftists in general are going back to the well on the racism narrative with Donald Trump. I feel like everything else has failed, and they're circling back, Jen Psaki style, to racism.
Yeah, you're probably right. Because, again, when they see themselves losing an argument, then, yeah, they're going back to the same thing that they always have.
Are they circling back, or are they circling the drain?
Both.
Oh, yeah,
yes,
a little bit of
both.
both. A little bit of both.
I think so.
And I heard your segment earlier. They got nothing, the Democrats.
Oh, no. And I'm not. Are you surprised that Elon Musk is now going to be backing J.D. Vance? Word is, according to the Wall Street Journal.
That didn't shock me at all, just because of the ties they both have to Peter Thiel. You know, Elon might have been angry, but for all intents and purposes, he's not a dummy.
No.
You know what I mean? And he still has interests that he wants to advance.
Well, and even if Elon either stayed neutral in the midterms and the presidential, he actually knows which side is going to go after him. Yep. And Lord help him if the Democrats end up back in power, because you know that they're going to first thing in the House of Representatives, if the Democrats get power, they will more than likely try to impeach Donald Trump. Yep. That is day one. And no doubt at some point they'll try to go after Elon Musk, too.
How likely do you think it is that they get the House at this point?
Democrats? We'll have to see what they do in California, because remember they're going to try to gerrymander in California. But that's got to go, from what I understand, that's got to go on a ballot. And the people of California need to vote on allowing this mid-cycle. And the latest polling that I saw shows that they don't support that in California. Now, Gavin Newsom is out there really trying to sell it as only the devil is a Democrat inspiration can.
Yep.
But do you like that Tom McDonald song?
I do. I was listening to it last night.
Man, dude, it is stuck in my head. Joan likes it too.
I do.
It made me chuckle because I remember 2 years ago when I was producing and filling in as a producer for you, I played a Tom McDonald song on the Amigos back then.
You did.
And you were like, what the hell is this? And then fast forward 2 years and Dan's jumping out front to be the first one to play the new Tom McDonald.
I am all in on Tom McDonald, man.
It's hilarious. His other songs have been great lately, too. Man in the Sky is awesome.
Man in the Sky?
Man in the Sky is so good.
Okay, now is he a Christian?
Yeah.
Is Tom McDonald? Okay, so he's Christian.
I don't know. He never explicitly comes right out and says it.
If it's in his lyrics, then.
I do believe that he believes in God.
Yeah.
Which is a good start.
He didn't believe in Gavin Newsom.
No.
Gavin Newsom believes he is God.
I think only Gavin Newsom believes in Gavin Newsom at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you believe the polling that shows that I talked about this very briefly earlier, that you're polling, and I know polling doesn't matter, but that Gavin Newsom would beat J.D. Vance and...
You had me up until the Buttigieg part.
Buttigieg, thank you. Buttigieg would also...
Because other Other polling shows that Buttigieg has 0% of black support.
Right.
0%.
I don't get it. Can I be honest? I'm going to be honest.
Please, Dan, will you just be honest?
I had like 30 seconds to fill. And so I went down the polling road. Oh. Don't tell Murphy. He'll yell at me. We love Matt Murphy. All right. Very good. And you're in the host seat now. I need my copy. We give you my copy?
It's 8:52. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones, what do we got coming up in the news?